Alrighty. So, Brandorn, what's your story? How did you get involved in Thai specifically and glitch hunting as well?
Yeah, so Ty, kind of as many other people, have probably said, I played the game as a kid, so it's been nostalgic for me. Like I've always, like fondly remembered the game and everything. And I didn't even really know that it had gotten a Switch port, but a couple years back, I saw that it had gotten one, and I was like, this looked cool. And I was vaguely interested in speedrunning at that point. I hadn't really pursued any games. I watched Zim, I watched, Shift, just kind of some of the more people who've been around, a long time, more notable figures, and I always thought it was super interesting. And I was like, you know what, I would love to get into this. And I remember I randomly searched Thai on Twitch because I was like, I want to see how the port is, I loved this game when I was a kid. And I came across a streamer playing it. He's still in the Discord and everything. I think he's more of like a variety streamer now. But he was doing runs, and I believe it's like a Mortal DJ, and he was just doing some any percent runs of Thai. And I was like, yo, this is really cool. And I was watching him do the skips and everything, and I was chatting with him, and I was like, so is there a lot of stuff that could be found? And he was like, yeah, definitely. And I was like, you know what? I kind of want to pick this up. So I remember I went and bought it on the Switch store. And I found the Discord. I watched some of the runs, and I was like, this is really cool. And then I spoke with one of the people who had the console world record for a while. It was another, because at that time it was the Switch version had just come out. So some of the most active people in the community really were the Switch runners, like as, those two being the main ones. And so I was just hanging out, watching Zonmean and everything. And at that point, I hadn't really like fully dived into the glitch hunting. I was more just playing the game very casually. I felt like I didn't have the full fundamental understanding of it. But then I kind of got with like Landshark a lot, who's currently not really as active in the community anymore. But we were able to work together, and that's, I would say, because up until that point, I had it wasn't anything really crazy, but we had started talking, and I kind of became buddies with him, and then went on to finding the ground swimming and a lot of the other findings. We worked together to find, and I was able to find, us bouncing ideas back and forth. Because I would say a lot of the things I've even found, it's just been because, like I always say, speedrunning is really a team effort. Even glitch hunting can be, it's like somebody presents an idea, I take that idea, and, sometimes I present ideas and others take those ideas. So it kind of just bounces back and forth and everything. And, there's just like this kind of dynamic to it that I really enjoy. So that was with him, and I wound up taking a bit of a break from the game. I just kind of was dealing with some life stuff, and but I would say discovered a good bit of stuff by that point, but I just kind of felt a little burnout in the game, and it was just, life kind of was a little overwhelming. And but I wound up coming back, and that was around the time that Lawn was starting. And me and Lon hit it off, very quickly. And he's since become one of my, just best friends in general, I would say. We stay up in Discords all the time and have a bunch of just funny jokes, because he's in the Oceanic. So when it's like 6 for me, it'll be, like I think 11 or so for him. So there have been so many times I've fallen asleep in Discord calls with him. And we've worked together on so much stuff, and playing with him was one of the things that kind of helped like really reignite my, passion to glitch hunt and play the game. And for me, the glitch hunting has really just been like it's just been a really fun way to like express, what I enjoy and like how I think, and through playing the game. Because I know I had talked about it that kind of little first night, but because I have, always struggled a bit with an anxiety disorder, so I've not always really been the best at running itself. Like, to put it bluntly, I'm a bit of a choke artist when it comes to run. Like running, my nerves kind of overwhelm me to the point where like my like hands will be shaking so bad I can barely hold the controller. Like if I feel like overwhelming pressure, like I'm just not really good under that level of pressure because of my anxiety and everything. It kind of overwhelms me. But I just really wanted to be involved and contribute something. And in a funny way, it's like I was able to kind of bring that anxiety disorder into a positive thing, because part of it is like that like hyper fixation, where I kind of focus on something and it kind of gets in my brain, and that's how I feel overwhelmed. With glitch hunting and everything, it's kind of a good thing, because sometimes you really have to be able to just put your mind on one little aspect and just drill it for hours and hours. Like, there are some tricks, that I spent dozens of hours just on one little thing, and just trying it. And I've had people like laugh and stuff and say, like, after trying a trick for an hour and like not getting it to work, it'd be like, oh, this doesn't work. But there have been like some tricks where I've just spent, several hours until I can finally get it, just because it's like being able to focus on that one thing has helped me. So in a way, it's been nice, because I've been able to turn somewhat of a negative into a positive with that. And I'm still grappling with it in general, but I would say that the speedrunning has helped even with it, because it's exposed me to a lot of other people, and it's helped me come out of my shell a lot in that sense as well. So I'm really grateful for it.
That's really awesome, man. I love to hear that. Well, not you're still grappling with it, but the idea of like what would normally be a hindrance, you've learned to sort of hone it into a different, a different a different avenue, right? But it still ends up being a benefit, So
Yeah.
that's awesome, man.
Thank you. And so that's pretty much just it with the basic story, just kind of getting involved through that, and just my own little personal growth, and like, I would say personal struggles I faced with it. That's kind of the basic, the story of me getting involved, I suppose.
I get you. Just to double check, you said, when did you first join? And then you said you took a break, and then you came back when Lawn was sort of starting up. So do you have like rough timelines for that?
Yeah, starting the game, it was probably that was like it would be, I'm trying to think here. I think it was about March. I could get you exact dates. I think it was probably
Like March 2020 or 2021?
2020, because it was it was before Lawn. And then I had played, discovered the ground swimming and everything, and there was kind of that wave of like stuff I found, and like, because right after ground swimming, I did kind of have like a big, a bit of the first pop. I guess I could call it a pop, where like I found several things kind of back to back to back, and was kind of getting time saves left and right. And then I had kind of burnt myself out to a small degree, so I just wasn't playing the game as heavily for a couple months. And then it was really when, like, it's not that like I completely dropped the game, I just was playing it to like a lot less of a degree. And it's when Lon joined that I was like really got back into the game heavily. And I would say the best way to find that is I would probably trace it to, I would say, one of the first times me and Lon really hung out, and we could actually get the exact date on this one. It was one night we stayed up really late labbing out a time attack using a swimming technique, and that night was one of the first nights we really hung out and stayed up, and we stayed up till like really late. I think it was like 8 for me when I finally went to bed. And that was one of the first times we hung out, and so that was kind of like the start of our friendship, I would say. So that was probably, I would put that as the date when it was like if it was like an arc, I suppose that was like when the arc with Lon started, because I kind of worked with Landshark, and we collaborated on a lot of stuff, and I found a lot of stuff. And then Lon kind of, I would say that's another thing, like having friends in the community, and like it's always been that like the kinship, like playing with other people, like that community aspect of it that's drawn me in. So when Landshark left, like one of the people I enjoyed playing with the most, I was I suppose less inclined to play, because I was like one of the people I'd sit and talk and lab stuff out with was gone. So I just didn't have as much fun. But then I kind of found the friend in Lon to that same, even more of an extent, I would say at this point. We've become, that close as friends. And it's kind of how always having that friend, like somebody to work with, bouncing ideas back, like the community aspect, like the group, like the familial, like being able to have those friends around, like somebody you can work with, like that's kind of what's always pulled me back in.
Okay.
And so the day on that time attack, when it was like probably around then, was probably about when like I really fully like kind of bounce back into it. And I could definitely get that because I think that would be on SRC.
Sure. Tell you what though, I'm gonna write it down. Find dates for Brandor
Okay,
stuff, and then we'll just do it after the interview.
okay, that sounds good.
Yeah. Uh, so when you first came in, did you have the idea of gates? And not obviously you didn't come up with it, right? I know that it has been around for a long time for gate skip, but like when you first showed up, was that like a thing on your radar, or had you heard people talk about it, or did you want to try and find it? I just want to know what your thoughts were on that.
Yeah, no, it was. I was actually kind of always like when I first started, I made a list of like several things I wanted to find, and funny enough, since we've pretty much, I think we've found like everything that was on my original list. Because it was like being able to get one of the eggs and stump without using any koalas, which I was able to find.
Mhm.
It was like kind of a skip in each level, which it's kind of crazy, but barring maybe like one or two, excluding the bosses, pretty much have found like slight time saves or some time saves in pretty much every level, and it was kind of just that. But the gate skip was definitely there. It was like this kind of daunting thing of like I want us to be able to figure this out because there were a lot of tricks I knew. Like there's the skip and walk in the park where we swim from below Ken where the bats are over the wall to where turkeys are. I actually found that skip before we had ground swimming because I was going in levels using the doomerang and like throwing it and trying to find places. I was like, if we ever could hypothetically go to these places, like if we had some way to jump or fly or swim up there, funny enough, I was like, we could cover some of these walls. So that was one of the places I was like, yeah, if we get this. So like when ground swimming was found, I had to go to work like the next day, unfortunately. So I was there all morning, just like frantically checking Discord for everything. But I remember I'd been like posted that the screenshot of like that part of the wall, like throwing the doomerang, because I was showing some spots we could potentially get out of bounds in each level and everything. I was messing around with like terrain, and so yeah, it definitely was like another. It was kind of like one of those indomitable things where it was like, this is something like I would love to be able to figure out. It's just like we're missing a piece of the puzzle. And when I found ground swimming, I was just messing around and shipwrecks, just kind of hopping against a wall, and was just like against the wall, like hopping, trying to get into like see if there was a way I could jump up or like find something I could get stuck on. And it was I was just jumping and I dived, and all of a sudden I was floating in the air, and it felt like it was really weird because at that time I was a lot less like experienced, confident in myself and just didn't have the understanding in games that I do now. Like I'm a lot more knowledgeable just in a lot of games and everything. And at that moment, it was more just like this is like it just felt like something like was like I heard the I guess you could say I forget the saying, but it's like the bells of change or something like that. It was like that I knew something was going to happen because I just posted that image of like I think I found a new glitch, and I was like, this is, and it would have been awesome to like be able to be there for like them fully finding it. But I was unfortunately at work at that time. But when I found the ground swimming, I definitely knew. I was like, dude, this is. Some people were still thinking like it may not be possible, but I was like, I'd like being not necessarily doubtful, but like reserved about it. But I kind of knew. I was like, this is because I have that like it's the same with like bashing the head into the wall for finding something for hours. It's like you can't give up on something. It's like unless something is completely proven and you have no other avenues, I was like, you gotta keep trying. Like there's games you just gotta keep going. Like you can't give up. Like you gotta. There's always something you're not thinking of. There's some other little thing that you may be missing. There's a piece to the puzzle always, and it's just, with most things in most games, I would say if you can find that little piece to the puzzle or get somebody who can, you can do that, because it's real. Like, I would say, and I would say this just in general, have found a lot of stuff and everything, but it's really just been that collaboration and the runners themselves than everybody else who's really made any of the things because like I don't think my findings themselves are necessarily like, what matter. It's the fact that, everybody else is working together, putting these things and, fully figuring them out to make it so we can use them, because, it's not really like, I guess it's not about really like the recognition for finding anything, I've never like it. It's more just like, I love seeing the game just evolve, and I love that just working together. Like when I originally found Doom Clip for like ages and ages, like I was just years really. I was like, I know it's possible. I kept trying it. I could never get it, but I pretty much undoubtedly was like, this is possible. I know it. Like, I'm not giving up. Like, until we figure this out, like I know something will allow us to be able to do this. And it wasn't until Lon and BuzzChew were, giving it a really hard go using stuff that, I as a console player wasn't really able to, that it was finally cracked. And that was a super satisfying moment for me, just because it felt like those years that I had been like almost saying like, hey, this is possible. Like, I know we're just missing a piece of the puzzle. And I think that was like almost just validating in a way for me, almost, because it just felt so good to be like, that mentality of not giving up really proved out to be right. Because, somebody could have dropped, like I could have dropped it, not mentioned it, but just kind of let it fade to obscurity. But the fact that I kind of would always bring it up when I got the chance, or when somebody didn't know what it was, it kind of finally led to it. That thing where, like I said, the collaboration, and that's what's so special about glitch hunting to me, is that it really just brings, everybody, and it's just this really awesome thing of teamwork.
Absolutely. You're kind of jumping ahead a little bit, and I want to talk about that in a minute.
Oh, yes, sorry. I kind of was like skipping around a little bit there.
It's all good. It's all good. So you said you were at work when actual gate skip was found, but when you got home, I mean, I guess you probably saw people were all in a frenzy for it. What was it like, sort of, we found the missing puzzle piece, and now like the game is opened up? What was that feeling like?
It was just a really special feeling, because it felt just like it. I know it's almost silly to say, but it was like, it felt, I was really like proud of myself in a way, and it just felt really cool, because I had everybody like saying, like Brandorn, like, you found this, like, this is, like, we work together, we were able to do this, like, we did it, guys. And everybody was, in chat just freaking out, and it was like, like, it was just this surreal moment of like, I contributed something, and I did something that I didn't really. And like I said, it's kind of helped me build that confidence. It was almost that moment of like, I did something I wasn't expecting myself to be able to do. Like, I didn't really expect to be able to have this impact, but I was able to, and like I was able to, contribute something, and like make myself like, part of this like group, part of this team. And it just felt like we were able to find something. Like, it was like a group of like people going through like going on a journey and joining that journey, and then after you join it, you kind of finally find the treasure piece you're looking for, and it's like everybody in the group's just celebrating. And for the longest time, I've said like finding ground swimming and leading into gate skip and everything around it has been like one of my just huge accomplishments, just in general, just because it really felt like like during that like, and since then, and even before then, but it was really that moment that kind of solidified to me. It was like that moment of like the feeling of belonging, like we did it, like this is us, like this is us, like that community. And it just felt really special. Like, it's a moment that it was really amazing. It was kind of like the miracle on ice, almost, like, I guess, for any sports fan out there. It was like joining that team like 10 days before the match, and then you sink a shot that plays into or you pass it to the best player, like somebody on the team, and they sink the shot, and then everybody's getting lifted up and everybody's chanting. It's like, we did it, like we are here, and
Mhm.
it's a really surreal, special moment, I would say.
Absolutely. You had mentioned the Doom clip thing, and I think that's part of another thing as well. Of you held on to this belief that sub 30 would happen, right?
Yep, and
Um,
nobody
oth-
believed me.
yeah, other people told me like, man, Brandorn believed, sub 30 was going to happen one day, and we didn't believe him, right? So, what gave you the idea that sub 30 would be possible, and how did it feel when it finally happened?
The idea, it really goes, um, I, it's, I'm trying to think of the best way to say it. When we found gate skip and everything in kind of the rough times, and I knew we needed to save as many minutes as we did need to, I really just kind of saw that and knew that I was like, we've got so much more left with the game. And I was like, there's so much we have to figure out and so much we have to find. And I just had this feeling in my gut. I was like, I know that I can. And it was kind of a personal goal for myself as well. I was like, I'm not going to give up, glitch hunting anything. I was like, just the same with, those other things I've worked on and, ground swimming. I was like, I'm not giving up until I can find enough strats, enough, glitches, enough like the tricks we need to get to this point.
Mhm.
So part of it was honestly a belief in like myself and the runners, because I was at that time I was really just, and it was Kama who eventually achieved it. I was really looking at Kama and like myself at one point and was like, I know if I do this, I was like, we can make this happen. So it was really just a belief in, because like I said, it at that moment it was like all my personal doubt, like when we found Gate Soup, kind of vanished, that like I could do something, like contribute in that way. It was like, I know I can find stuff, and I was like, I know that my like randomly jumping into walls, like this stuff can mean something, can make stuff like that matters happen. Like, maybe not to the world, everyone in the world per se, but to this game and to these people running the game. And so it was really just like, it became a like very personal mission for me to know like we can do this. And then we were so close, like, and because I know Comad even said it in the chat at one point. When I kind of came back, I went on a bit of a tear. Like I found the 2-up skip, and me and Lon worked on a bunch of routes and figured out, I found some small optimizations for a bunch of levels and found some tricks that we're not using currently, but could be implemented to save any more time. And just kind of went through every level, just kind of ripping them apart, and just throwing myself at it, just being like, I really want to figure this out. Like I want to just pull every single thing I can and just keep going at it. Like find deconstruct every level in my head and think of like what interaction this could do here. Like what are we losing time on here? And like just, and like I said, I will say, in terms of running, I don't have as much confidence in myself. Lon will always hype me up though, but, which I appreciate. He's a good hype man. But in terms of glitch hunting, I would say I do have that confidence that I feel like I can really pick up on stuff, and like after playing like the game as much as I have, like really understand how time moves and like how time interacts with the world. And I really just set that personal goal. It's like, I'm gonna make this happen. And I was like, there have been some people who've contributed a lot to this game and have done a lot for this game, and I was like, I could settle for what I've done now and let kind of other people pick up the mantle. But I was like, I just want to keep going. And so I kind of did, and I kind of just spent like I think over 400 hours now in Thai, and only like probably 20 to 30 of that is like from just casual play, me doing time trials just for fun and stuff like that. There's probably another maybe 10 or so of AFK and stuff, but a lot of that is really just me labbing stuff out and timing stuff, and working with Lon, individual work, and hunting stuff and messing with proxies, everything else, anything that I feel like could potentially elevate the game, because I just knew that we could do it, and I knew that that was a barrier that I could help move. And with that like newfound confidence, I was like, I know what I'm able to do here. And so I really set out on that mission to just fully push it. And I knew when we found Doomclip, because we were already so close, but when Lon was able to, he messaged me and was like, we found something. And I knew they had been messing with Doomclip a little bit, and I was like, they figured it out. I was like, it's here. And when I saw that, it was like, it was probably on almost this, it was probably the same level as Gate Skip, because it feels like there have been so many cases of that where, like, you know, when Ground Smear was first found, there was a lot of things people said wouldn't be possible with it, and I was kind of kept with that hope, like, no, I'm like telling you guys, I know we're going to be able to do this. Like, I'm, you know, maybe not just me, like, you know, I can't do it by myself necessarily, but like, we're going to figure it out. Like, it's going to happen. And with sub 30, we were already so close, you know, not just me even, but, you know, other people, like my effort as well as so many others had come together, and we were able to push it down to that point. And then when Doomskip was found, just for years at that point, I'd been, you know, ranting on about this out of bounds I found years ago, and never had really been able to fully get it. But I was like, I just know it's there. Like, I'm never going to give up. And it's just the same with those. So when that was found and I was there for the sub 30, it just was really like, and it's still not the end of TIE for me at all. Like, I'm still, you know, me and Lon are currently working on another route right now. But like a little route adjustment. But in terms of like, I think it just goes to show that if you really set your mind to something and you don't give up, and even, you know, like I said, I've kind of turned that anxiety, like, you know, it's really difficult for me in some aspects of life, but I've grown a lot, and I've been able to, you know, take that part of myself, you know, where I would overly focus on things and kind of get myself like worked up. I've been able to take that and, you know, put it into something positive. It's just, you can, if you set your mind to something, even if other people, you know, don't think it's possible, if you really put yourself into it and you don't give up, if you can find that missing puzzle piece, you can really do anything. And I think that kind of, if my story was encapsulated as anything, it's just the story of, no matter, you know, who tells you that something isn't going to be possible. Like, if they tell you, you know, gate skip can't happen, you put the time into it. You know, people have been searching for, you know, decades. You put some time into it. You work as hard as you can. You try to figure stuff out. You can make it happen. You find it out of bounds, and people, you know, maybe tell you that it's not going to work, that it's never going to lead to a skip. You keep at it. You don't ever give up. You can do it, like, no matter, you know, what. And with the sub 30, it really felt like the culmination of me and my own personal, like, drive and my own, like, will to, like, push forwards and be a part of the game and contribute to the community was like, it was just a very, like, special moment. It just felt really gratifying in a sense, because it was like, we've done it. And I was like, I've done what I wanted to do, and I was like, I've really just shown that, like, I've, you know, been a part of this. I was like, this is, you know, my magnum opus in a way. Like, as much as, maybe not as much, but, you know, as important as the sub 30 was for Kama, like, it was kind of the same for me, because I had just never given up hope that we'd be able to do it and that I could help do that. And, you know, watching the run and seeing, like, true, like trick after trick, you know, being used, and me, I guess, being a contributing factor in a lot of those tricks that were used in certain cases. Like, it felt surreal just to see all the effort and time I'd put into really come to fruition, and my beliefs and my, you know, struggle against, you know, any doubt people had, you know, for me or what I could do. The really just happened. Like, I was able to, we were able to make it happen, no matter, you know, anybody doubting, just because I think that's really it. Like, no matter what adversity you face in life, if you really don't give up, and you can truly achieve anything.
Absolutely. I'm over here crying. That was beautiful, Brandon. Brandorn.
Thank you.
All right. We're coming up on half an hour here.
Okay.
So that's most of my questions that I have here.
Okay.
I just thought of something a minute ago. Have you thought about trying to find a gate skip that would be possible on old console?
I have actually. I've one of the ideas I actually have for it. I've kind of mentioned it to some of the modders, but haven't had it. Would kind of be an endeavor, honestly.
Mm.
But the idea is actually because of the Wind Waker video you guys made, and
Oh.
the memory overflow. And I don't know. I know GameCube. I actually own the game on GameCube, so that's probably what I would test it on. But I know that because of the GameCube's memory limitations, I'm wondering if we could somehow really, because theoretically, if we could somehow within make roughly 15 minutes, I suppose, on old console, uh, get the game's memory to overfill, like overload, doing something like playing a cutscene, causing something that takes up a lot of memory without crashing the game, get it to the point where the gate deloads. That's probably been my biggest idea because I've looked into some other stuff potentially, like in terms of pausing during the swim, and haven't had too much luck with that because it just seems like it really was not until that patch that allowed ground swimming to happen that the game function in the way it did that would allow it to just, like the geometry and the way the values are set and such. But I do think that could be worth looking into, and I've wanted to mess with it. It's such like it's almost mathematical at that point.
Absolutely.
Figuring out like the memory values in the game and how we could manipulate that, and what like the what would be too far on the scale and what would be not far enough on the scale in terms of ideas. And it's kind of funny that I'm drawing inspiration because of like that information I saw in the Wind Waker video, but it just gave me that idea because it just seems like a very reasonable route because of the heavy memory limitations that a lot of games on the GameCube and from that era can have. So that was one of the that's probably the main idea I have, and I'm wanting to mess with it more. That one is going to be that one's just a little tricky. The memory manipulation stuff is though. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I do find it funny that there's some really strong parallels between Wind Waker and Ty the Tasmanian Tiger. I don't think anybody would have seen that coming, but they have the barrier, right? And and now we have barrier skip, more or less, right? So I do find that very funny. But yeah, go ahead.
And Ty as well, I will say this. I think it's funny because this is probably coming from somebody who has, who's glitch hunted the game or like extremely heavily, like a lot. It's still such an undiscovered like game in some aspects. Like we have a couple glitches and some interactions we don't necessarily understand, and then the really unknown wasteland is definitely proxies, and I've definitely put the most amount of time into them, but even I don't fully understand them. But I definitely think that the future of Ty holds a lot as well, and it's why I continue to play the game. And the fact that I just love the community and love the game itself. But I think, and the parallels are honestly like pretty funny in terms of it having that skip and like there being that just massive wall, and it feels really special just to be a part of breaking down that wall.
Hell yeah. All right. Is there anything left on that list that you made? I don't know if you have a literal list of things, but I'm curious.
I do actually. I can pull it. Can you still hear me? Because I'm on mobile.
Yeah,
right
I hear
now.
you. I hear you.
Okay, this is very old in my notes folder, so I gotta kind of dig
Yeah, go
around
search it
here.
and dig it up. I am curious to know if you still have anything left on that old list that hasn't been found that you're still working on.
Let's see here. I got some decks from Hearthstone back when I used to play that.
Oh, there you go.
Let's see here. Here. Okay. Go. Okay. So I found the list, the original list. Okay, so I don't think this is the original list, but I think this is one of the ones I did make because this is from January of 2021. So
Okay.
it's because I joined around in 2020, so this isn't the original list, but I'll read it out to you. Earlier, egg animation skip. We have a non-RTA method using the Doomerang, but we've never really found a way, almost like in Precursor Legacy, where like some of the like power cells, they can kind of get the animation to skip.
Mhm.
2-up wall skip, unlikely to not possible. I spent about 8 hours on that one and made it possible.
Oh.
That was, I figured out you could get underneath with swimming, and it's actually funny because there's a community member that I was chatting with one night named Tinsel, and Lon, him and I were all chatting, and I told him that after about like probably 15-20 minutes, I figured out that you could get underneath with swimming, and I was like, oh, if you can do it with swimming, then you can definitely do it without swimming. And then I proceeded to spend like the next 7 to 8 hours doing it. And he was like, yeah, no, that's about the point where I would have been like, nah, but it was the river wall skip. That's kind of like finding a way to get from Enbridge, because we have to collect the bilbies. It's pretty much just a way to figure out how to save going around. And there was an old method, but I actually found a swim that we haven't fully cracked yet, but I did find a swim that actually makes that possible. That was found just a couple months ago, so that one is checked off as well. The snow areas proxies, I was wanting to, at the time, get the wombat proxy to prove, because there were some people saying that proxies would never be useful in runs, even if we figured them out, because how would you use this to get a thunder egg? So I was like, in snow areas, I'm going to proxy. I'm going to get the egg on top of mill to just prove that we could make these useful. And that took just, I killed so many wombats doing that. It took a disgusting amount of time. But eventually I did get it, and I was insanely hyped about it because it felt so sick just for that as well. People being like, these aren't useful, to be like, they can be. Final battle early credits. We actually, it literally says my fever dream, very unlikely. That was a doom skip, and my fever dream is now a fever reality, and I love it.
Hell yeah. And
then Rexmark's early geyser. I did find a surf for that one as well. But funny enough, me and Lon and I actually labbed out a route that kind of invalidates the surf list because it's just faster than even using the surf list. And then Coral brought up something to that route, which it's so much faster, which is kind of funny because it was just staring us at the face for years, but it completely invalidates that one. But I did find a surf for that. So pretty much everything on the list from January of last year is cleared off except for the egg animation skip.
Yeah, you got your hands full on that one.
Yeah, it was. That one is. I definitely feel like something could be out there for it. Like I said, I never give up on that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Any like I said, we're now at about almost 40 minutes. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you think we should talk about? Like this video would not be complete if we didn't talk about this.
Let me think for a moment. I guess I do want to say this. He hasn't been active for a while, and last time we talked, I know he was just kind of busy with life stuff, but he hasn't really been active on Twitter or Discord or anything. But so not really sure what's going on with him right now in terms of life. But Dr. Landshark, just want to give a hopefully he does see this video when it comes out, and I just want to give a big shout out to him because, like I said, one of the reasons that I really enjoyed the community was 2020 and 2021 kind of by extension were really difficult years for me, and that community aspect, that being able to make friends and those bonds, like being on hangouts, like watch anime, watch YouTube stuff, and I've kind of made a lifelong friend now, and that goes towards a bunch of other people. I know I can message him and just hang out with them, and he was kind of one of the first people I really ever connected to in that way, and he really made me feel like I had a friend in the community, and like I had somebody really close, and because of him I was able to find some of the coolest stuff I found, like Spire Surf and some other tech, and he was able to find a different way to do the cast skip because I found out you can get the portal from underwater, and we discussed about it, and he figured out that you could directly swim to that from the old version of the skip, and he just wherever he is right now, I just want to say, I wouldn't be the glitch hunter and I am now. Like, just in Thai, even hopping into other games, like my understanding and my personal confidence. If it wasn't for like him being a good friend to me and him kind of being that person that was like, I know, there were times when he was like, Brandon, I can't figure this out, but like, I know you can. And somebody before I really had that like full confidence in myself being like, you're the guy to go to. Like, because in a sense, I would say like I'm almost that now, almost when it comes to, like proxies and some of the other tricks and stuff. But it felt he was just one of the people that really helped me mature and grow into the person I am now. So I just want to give a big thank you to him wherever he's at, and just the game. And I wouldn't be who I am without his friendship when I first joined. So just a big shout out to Dr. Landshark wherever he is right now. And if he sees this video, I hope he's doing well.
Hell yeah. Shout outs to Dr. Landshark out there.
And that's pretty much it.
Okay. Brandorn, this has been a pleasure to
Thank you,
talk to
friend.
you. So let me go ahead and end the recording here.